Good morning. From the lobbies and vestibules of Manhattan to the rooftops of Brooklyn, this is Good Morning Super, the podcast that shines a light on people who keep New York City's buildings up and running from day to day. Every other week, your hosts, Peter Gresh, Roberto Cardono, Mimi O'Connor, and me, James Park, sit down with supers, porters, and property managers to talk shop, share stories, and reveal what it really takes to keep the city moving, one building at a time. Our host, Peter Gresh, has 47 years in building operations, having been a doorman, handyman, chief engineer, and finally a resident manager of a luxury high-rise in New York City. He's taught at the local 32 BJ for 15 years and founded the Superintendent's Technical Association, a training association for building supers and resident managers throughout the years. Cardono has been a resident manager for 28 years, worked himself up from porter to assistant resident manager, last as an engineer. He served as 18 years as the president of the STA. Mimi O'Connor is a writer and editor specializing in real estate and culture and is a longtime contributor to New York City real estate site, Brick Underground. And thank you. Okay, Peter, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, and good morning, supers.
How about Roberto? How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Buenos dias, Nueva York.
And I'm gonna put on Mimi. Mimi, have you solved your problem? Have solved the issue with the sound? Oh, okay. We'll wait for her to see if we can get that. Okay. So I'm gonna pull this a little bit closer. Okay. So how's your week been?
I was under the weather for a few days, but I'm beginning to feel much better, much stronger.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
Those are the fans.
Peter, how was your week?
I'm retired.
So
It's all the same.
That's
Good.
right.
It's good.
okay.
It's good to wake up not wanting or needing anything. So yeah,
That's right.
been good.
So I think the question for a lot of resident managers, when they're in the industry, they're kind of dealing with the day-to-day grind. Peter, how is retirement after a full life as a resident manager? Do you miss it?
Well, most people retire and then just frizzle up and just, die.
Yeah.
If you're going to retire, you have to have a plan. You got to have a plan. And that plan should say, or should be mapped out what you're going to do while you're retired. So I gardening and still teach. So I still teach part-time at City Tech, and seems to be working out well. My wife would prefer that we travel more, but I love my garden. So I love it so much. I took a course at Penn State on a master gardener degree, and I got that, and I volunteered there.
Oh, that's great. You said that you're teaching at City Tech again?
Yes.
What class are you teaching?
Well, I teach currently the what's called the 401, which is the HVAC class. And I also teach the 402, which is the supervision and management class. Both for 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
Both for 24 hours long.
24 hours long. So someone that's taking this class or looking forward to taking this class has to carve out about 24 hours.
Yep.
Okay.
It's good. It's good class, not just because I teach it and I made it, but it's a good class.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. It's for this fall season, right?
Yeah, the Havoc class, today's the last day, and then the management class will start in February probably. And on average, we have about 10, 12 students.
Roberto, would you say that your I think you taught a class as well. Are you teaching now?
I'm not teaching now, but I'm making preparations to do so.
Okay.
I'll be teaching the standpipe and sprinkler courses. And I also, every so often, they ask me to fill in at the City Tech as well. And then I have my own, activities. I help family out, and I take care of my own apartment. I do the work in my apartment. Instead of hiring somebody outside when I can do the work.
Okay, awesome. Um, okay, so for this class, we of course, sorry, we talk about classes so much. For this course, this podcast episode, I want to talk about emergency calls or emergencies that happen at a building. I think as supers and resident managers, there's no way around them. You've got to be prepared to be on call 24/7. Um, Minus a couple exceptions, you're going to be the first person in the building. Residents and building manager, owner, landlord will call when something goes wrong. So I thought that today would be a great topic. Since we are going into the winter season, the heating is a huge issue. Hot water, dealing with all of the different parts of a boiler. I thought that maybe we could talk about some of the craziest after hours emergencies, and then talk about some of the ways that we can prevent them. Some hacks or tricks that if you guys have. In other words, how do you prevent some of these crazy emergencies from happening? And especially for people looking to become a superintendent, what should you have? What tools should you have on hand to effectively address these emergencies? So, Peter, let's start with. Actually, you know what? Let's start with you, Roberto.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I think that one of the most important issues are the seasons. So if you're preparing for the seasons, you should have materials ready in the event of a heavy snowfall. You have to have that because some snowfalls, we've gotten inches of snow. And New York City, once it gets over 2 inches of snow, traffic and everything stands still. It slows down very drastically. So I think communication and materials on hand at the right time in preparation is very important. I think it's important that you should train your personnel to be in preparation and what to do and who's going to perform what duties in the event of an emergency, be it fire, flood, or outside emergency.
But with all due respect to I guess the phenomenon of snow, like as definitely one of the things that can pop up as somewhat of an emergency.
A broken pipe,
yeah.
a broken pipe, a flood
Right.
in the
Maybe
building.
yes. I was thinking something more along the lines of that because
Yeah.
snow we can kind of predict
Well,
even
we
if it's kind
have
of crazy.
floods. Normally, we can have pipes that burst inside the wall,
Right.
or they can burst in the basement.
Right,
You
right.
know, it's a number of things that can occur. Sometimes they even use the wrong pipe. The pipes seal up, and the pressure causes it to burst.
Eh.
Sometimes you have contractors who are, I guess, new in the field, and they hit them and damage them.
Anything particular that you remember that happened to you that?
Oh, we've had floods where the lady had Alzheimer's, and she went to take a shower, and she never even made it to the shower, and the tub backed up and flowed down. It went down, did damage to like 11 floors below her. And we have to have the guys ready with buckets, mops, towels, and it's all hands on deck. You don't wait for that. You have to attack that immediately. But that's because it's in an apartment, so it's isolated. But in an event where it's a broken pipe, now you got to chase that line, find the valve, close it before you can even start really working up, cleaning the area. So it's a matter of the situations and what it calls for. But it's all about preparation of the employees.
When this came in with the Alzheimer's, the resident who had Alzheimer's, what time did that call come in?
That came in at about 3:30 in the morning. So they even called the people at home to come in. Because it caused it did a lot of damage. A lot of damage. It went from the 11th floor, it went 11 floors down. It was seen in the lobby area. That's where it was first brought to the attention.
Okay, so it showed up in the
Yeah,
lobby.
and we had to
They
trace the
call
lines.
They call it raining in the lobby.
Yeah, so, so yeah, we have to now get extra personnel, and we have to find out where the leak is, where it's originating from. And then we have to go in and shut the water, wherever it is, because in that case, it was the water overflow in the tub. She ran the water and then she went to bed. So they called people in because it was that bad. We had to like dry the hallways. We had to take care of her apartment. We had to call someone to take care of her while we were doing this. So her son came in. He responded. Very nice man. Took it very well as well. And he apologized to everybody. But you have to call people in. Sometimes at 3 in the morning, you're in this field. At any given hour, on any given day, an emergency will or can appear.
So it seems like this is not like a pipe bursting though. This is a human error, right?
Right.
So
But in some cases, it's a basement pipe,
right.
especially the ones that are the drain lines. They cause a lot of havoc. So that's a bigger cleanup. That's a bigger cleanup job.
Okay. In a case like that, if you are in the building, and it's a great question because your residents can have certain disabilities and certain issues, right? So which they can't control. How do you prevent that? How do you?
Well, the first things we need to determine is if some of these tenants that have the challenges have someone staying with them, and for how long, because sometimes they only have them until bedtime and some of them have them around the clock. So it's important that these people have someone to take care of them. Sometimes a family member stays, sometimes it's an outside person, but it's all about the responsibility of the person with them, because sometimes they even tend to walk around and roam the hallways, and we don't want them having accidents or causing accidents. But in an event of a serious emergency, like a broken water line, depending on the size of the pipe, because some pipes, they differ in size, it can cause a big catastrophe. Sometimes you even have garages where the pipes might burst in the winter. And that's a lot of work to do because you have to get the cars moving, you have to clean the area up, you have to call a plumber to come in and take care of the situation. We have to find a valve to close it, to control the havoc. So it really depends on the situation and where, and the size of the building as well. Because the bigger buildings have bigger pipes.
Right. In this case, I guess what you're saying is, for a super can't do much when it comes to it seems like that unless there's another kind of way for the super to participate in trying to prevent this. But there are situations where things are beyond their control, so they can't.
Well, I think it's important for supers to keep in good communication with their employees. When they keep in good communication and they offer good training,
right.
They carry themselves not only as a super but as a role model.
Right. So if you can't control the type of emergency itself, especially because it may be caused by someone with Alzheimer's or another issue, then your biggest bet to prevent that is just making sure you've trained your staff and you guys are all on point, so that when things like this do arise, then everyone jumps into place and kind of runs.
Everybody knows their place, and the most important aspect is that as soon as the situation arises, you inform the super.
Right.
And the super is going to, the first question he's going to ask is, have you located the problem? What's causing the problem? And when you say yes, then he takes action and says, get everybody in place. And most of the time, when they're well trained by their super, they will know exactly what to do and where to go and how to handle the situation.
Right, right. I was gonna say, it seems like it's it it seems like human error though is um, a big issue, right? With building emergencies. Human error are things that are controllable. Emergencies that you can humans. It's not like a burst pipe or anything like that, or something that kind of jumps out of nowhere. A boiler goes down. But this is more about having um, having just being careful, reminding residents to be careful with their own apartments so that they don't cause anything that um, creates an emergency for the staff, right? Because human error, a mistake that a person makes, and it causes this leak, this flood is a pretty big. It can cause headaches for everyone.
Oh, most
Yeah,
definitely.
and damages for everyone.
Yes.
Peter, okay.
Peter? Peter? I put him to sleep.
Sorry, Peter. Tell us about your emergency. See,
What can I say? Roberto
Okay.
said most of it. Okay, so right off. I got a good emergency
There we go.
story for you. But before I get there, when people say emergency, I got to tell you, most of the time, they're not really emergencies. It's their emergency. So, somebody will call a door. Oh, I got a leak. I got a leak. We go up there and there's the faucet dripping. That kind of stuff. You mentioned human error. I'm going to say 70% or better is human error. People overflow their toilets. People overflow their sinks. And the problem is that they don't own up to it. So we get a call, water's coming from above. We go upstairs, knock on the door. No one answers. We go get the key, and the person's home. And we say, we're looking for a leak. Did you overflow anything? No, 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 I didn't overflow. Meanwhile, we see the bathtub full of wet rags and towels.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you do get that a lot.
But see, the problem is they don't understand. We start knocking holes in walls and stuff.
Yeah.
If they would just say, yeah, I overflowed, that's one thing. But now we have to start looking for a leak that we know it's not there. That's another thing. But pipe breaks and
That's a good
stuff
point.
like that are not as much as the human error stuff. Staff training, yeah, you got to train your staff to what to do, where the shut-off valves are, that kind of thing. But with that is equipment. If you don't have at least 2 or 3 wet and dry vacuum cleaners on hand, if you don't have at least 2 or 3 mop buckets with mops and rags and stuff
Right.
like that, then you're going to have 4 guys with 1 mop bucket, and that's not going to help. And the other thing
That
is
makes sense.
fans to try to save the parquet floor, or at the very least the carpets. We run the air across the top. These things all go to, at that point, it's limiting the damage. The damage is done, but we want to try to stop it from getting more. So the story that I have went back to the 60s. No, I'm sorry, 70s, when I had a rental building on in Lincoln Center area, and the landlord calls me up about 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. Says, Peter, I need you to go to the commercial building. He owned a commercial building on Lexington and 62nd. I said, what's up? He goes, just call me from the lobby when you get there. Okay. I said, is it big? He said, it's huge. So I took a whole bunch of guys with me. We went there expecting a flood. Get out of the cab, and I look up. I see icicles on almost every floor.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I said, oh shit. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's fine.
So
That's
we
true.
get in, there's the starter. We can't find the chief engineer. We don't know where he is. All right. So I go downstairs. I figured out what the problem was. In commercial buildings, you don't normally send up heat during the night or the weekends. And unless it gets really cold. And if it gets cold, you're supposed to shut the pumps off so that at least, nothing freezes. He didn't shut the pumps off, and he didn't have the heat going, and everything froze over the weekend. And I'm going to say 60-70% of the whole building was a disaster.
The pipes.
Yeah, I called up the cleaning company. They sent a whole bunch of crews over there. We called up the plumbing companies. They sent crews over there, and I'm organizing this and that, and we still can't find the chief. We know he came into the building. So finally, I find the chief, and he's in the corner, and he's really crying. I said, "You screwed up." He goes, "Oh, yeah." He said, "Is the old man angry?" I says, "Well, yeah, he's angry." So I called up Mr. Landau. He passed away since then. And Landau says, "I want the man fired. Throw him out of the building. Please, physically, pick him up and throw him out onto the sidewalk." Well, we didn't do that. We just asked him to leave, and he did. But it was a lot of the radiators had burst.
Right.
The piping had burst. It was that's a disaster.
A very expensive, costly disaster.
Very. And
Yeah.
I think the insurance company, it was a trouble. They didn't want to pay it because it was human error.
Okay. How was it human error again?
He failed to provide heat over the weekend, which is a standard practice unless it gets really cold.
Okay.
Or at the very least, you shut down the pumps. You keep the pumps running.
Right.
So that
because
nothing,
the
but
water
he had shut down everything.
Out of curiosity, for someone that's just coming into this field, so there are systems where they're automatically regulated, right, with a heat timer. If it goes down to a certain temperature,
Yes.
the heat
Below
system
55.
kicks on. You don't have a problem with that. But how is this? In this case, in your case, there was no control, like automatic control.
There is controls, but it's a standard practice in commercial buildings at the time
Oh, it's
to shut the
commercial
heat
building.
off because there's nobody there.
There's nobody in the building.
Yeah, but keep the pumps running if it's going to get cold. But he shut everything down.
I think most
Even
old buildings really suffer from the most emergencies.
the best one was the roof tank. The roof tank had a
The flood?
a
Rose?
crack and the ice hanging out of it.
Out
Oh,
of the tank,
yeah, it was like a winter wonderland.
lucky the
with the
dunnage,
ice.
the dunnage stood up, it held up.
No, because in residential buildings, people use the water all the time, so the tank doesn't freeze. In a commercial building, the water sits in the tank, but there's supposed to be a heating coil in the tank to keep that water above freezing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but the heat was
That
shut
didn't
down.
respond either.
The heat was shut down, so it was bad. And then yeah, so
It's
the good news is we made a ton of money that week.
oh, like overtime?
Me and my staff. Oh yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
All right.
Long overdue, right?
That's the only silver lining.
Yes.
Yeah. Another man. I guess.
One man's.
We had
That's right,
an emergency one time where a tenant called down and said, "Listen, can you do something about the heat? It's really hot in here." And he's on like the 18th floor, and I was in charge that weekend, and I called some of the other tenants, and they said, "No, the heat is just fine." And this guy calls down again, and he calls down again. I said, "I gotta see what's wrong with his apartment. Maybe something's wrong with that thermostat. It's not reacting." I went up to the apartment. What happened was the return line on his heating system, it burst in the wall. And the steam, the whole apartment was full of condensated steam. He said, "Can you do something? It's a little too hot in here."
Yeah.
Well, he had mirrors that would condensate water dripping in on the ceiling too. I said, "Oh my God." I called the plumber, they came in, they found the area, they broke I had to shut off the steam.
How many stories total?
It's 20, the whole building?
Yeah.
It has 25 stories.
So probably the 18th floor was the expansion valves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it probably gave.
Yeah.
And on the return side, and it snapped. And it was, I'm telling you, his whole apartment was dripping. But, I'm lucky it was like 10 o'clock at night when I had to call the plumbers in.
Yeah, we had a few of those. And the wallpaper starts peeling.
Yeah, yeah.
So in a situation like that where you have all of a sudden expansion valve leaks and ejects steam,
You have to shut off.
right. Right. Well, let me ask you something. I mean, this is going on the side of the topic, but if it does go, I mean, if it does expansion joint leak on the 18th floor, in order to, if you're in the middle of a weekend and it's freezing,
Right.
would you keep going until Monday?
Yes.
Okay. So the apartment would have to continue to have steam, yeah, jetting out inside his walls until.
There is something though. Each riser, steam riser, has a valve at the bottom. Those valves have never been opened and closed.
Right.
Or they're open, but they've never been closed. So chances are, if you try to close it, it's frozen. It won't close.
Oh no.
If you put a persuader on it, you could break it. So
That's another job.
yeah, so that's one thing that supers do not do, and that's the valves to the risers. They don't open. Every valve in the building for risers and so forth
Every time.
needs to be opened and closed twice a year, and you need to move it. If you don't move it, it will freeze
It
in
locks up,
place.
right?
Yeah, and then there's chances you're gonna break it. So that's the first thing. So
So what was that? Always test your.
always open and close your valves
Twice a year.
twice. So if a valve is normally opened, you would close it, open it, close it, open it, close it, then leave it open. If the valve is normally closed, you would open it and then close it, open it, close it.
Yeah.
You got to work the valve.
Yeah, these valves, when they stay closed for too long, there builds up a residual
Yep.
all around the pipe and internally, and it makes it harder to open and close.
Yep.
Can even break your spindle.
Drain pipes. If it's a drain pipe, like off the bottom valve of a boiler, that's where you drain the boiler from. You've got to open and close that a few times a year, because what will happen is non-condensables and garbage will back up behind that valve
Yeah.
and solidify. So then you go to open the valve, and the valve may open, but nothing's going to come out because it's all gunked up. You'd have to take a hammer and beat the hell out of it.
Bypass valves have that
So-
problem too.
Bypass valves.
So just to make sure, just to be clear for those who are not familiar with the parts that parts of the building that Peter and Roberto was talking about, the expansion valves are. You want to explain that real quick behind the.
Expansion valve is a fitting that usually goes every eight stories in a building, 8 to 9 stories, maybe 10, depending. But it allows for the pipes to expand and contract. So when there's no steam running in a pipe, it's at its normal fixed position. But as soon as it starts to heat up, that pipe will expand. If you don't have something that will aid or take that expansion, then the pipe could burst or erupt. It's the same on a hot water system. You've got to have expansion valves to allow for the movement of the pipe to go up and contract and expand. Without it, chances are it's going to break.
Same thing with the gravity tanks,
Gravity
right?
tanks.
When they're made of wood, you see the gravity tanks are made of wood, and then they have that metal band around it. That's for the expansion and contraction during the seasons.
Sometimes they need to be tightened by hand. Sometimes they need to be loosened up a little by
Yeah.
hand.
So I put up there on the top of the screen. I said always open and close your valves. The only thing is that if you haven't done that, and if the building's valves hasn't, yeah, you don't want to
Yeah,
touch it.
you don't want to mess with it.
So I guess
If it ain't broke, don't touch it.
That's
I mean, if the
Right.
building is 5 years old, probably
Yeah.
it's not a problem. But if it's 20 years old or older, then don't. And then come up with a plan, a 5-year plan on replacing the valves, because when you need it, you're gonna need it.
It's I'm glad you brought that up. They were replacing these water towers, the cooling towers, up in this hotel I was working with on 52nd and Madison, and they asked the people that were they were contracted to do all the work, But they came across and they spoke to the head engineer and they told him, listen, why don't you guys close off the valves and open the bypass so that we can do the job and this way we can just walk in and do it. And he was about to do it when I stopped him. I said, listen, how long has it been since those valves been open? And he said, oh, maybe over 20 years. I said, let them do it, because if that snaps and you have an emergency, it's on you and they're paid to do the job. So let them take care of that. So he thought about it, he said, you know what, you're right. So they did it. Because they're paid to do the job, but they want us to do it so that they can save money for themselves. So I told them, don't touch that valve at all.
Going back to Peter's emergency with the entire building that had the frozen pipes and the heating. So obviously the heating didn't work. So the tenants did not have heat for a certain period of
For a
time.
whole week and
Okay.
a half.
Yeah, and then you probably had to bring one of those boiler trucks in.
No, there was nothing wrong with the plant, the heating plant. It was just that it was off.
The pipe, and then the pipes were. I guess the pipes are the issue. So
The pipes are all the issues.
Well, we got lucky because we were on the 18th floor, and the plumbers, they capped it. They were
Right.
able to cap it, so we reinstated service. But you gotta be careful, because in a steam system, you can perform that. But if it's a hot water system, you gotta be careful. You can only drop the pressure but so much, and then keep it stable, and then after the repair is done, raise it up gradually. Because if you drop it too far to reinstate that pressure again under a hot water system, it's too hard when the temperature drops below into the teens.
I've learned in the past that you can always buy expansion valves or joints, as they're called. You can always buy them, but when they get over 2 inches, they're a little harder to get. So my advice is buy a couple and keep them in the shop, because if you don't know when they're going to go, and it's nothing you can plan on replacing. It's just when they go, they go. And you run the risk of not being able to get a 3-inch line
That's right.
joint, and the plumbers are not going to have them in their stuff. So buy a couple. It's only about $400 or $500 or something like that.
Keep them on the side? You guys keep them on
We had in my past 3 buildings, we had copper from 1/2 inch all the way up to 3 inch.
Nice.
We had no hub, 2 inch and 4 inch and 3 inch. We had fittings. We don't install them, but when we call a plumber will say, "Oh, I need to go get this." So that's an hour to go get it, an hour
That's
to come
right.
back. Now that you're being charged 100, 125 an hour, plus 10, 20% on top of the materials.
That's right.
If you got it all in stock, look at the money you save.
That's right.
And if it happens at 6 o'clock, the plumbing houses are not open
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock. So you keep as much as you can on hand.
also, I think in terms of emergencies, let's say if you're in a building where a part-time building where the super is not close by, there's a lot of things that you can still do to just stop the emergency, right? There's a lot of DIY potential here for residents. Like for instance, if a toilet overflows and it's running nonstop, and the situation where a float is broken and the supply keeps on filling the toilet and overflowing and it's leaking to the apartment below, you can turn off your toilet, right,
Yep.
manually. Simple things like that. I mean, there are huge catastrophes, but sometimes these huge catastrophes caused by stuff that we can't control behind the walls. But there are a lot of stuff that happen from small things, like a toilet, like a float not working, the fluid master breaks. So if residents know how to
Do something.
yeah, do something. They learn your apartment, learn
Well,
where the valves are, and
That's why when you get the call from the person, you tell them, if it's a toilet, there should be a valve under the toilet, usually
Close
on the left side. It's a chrome, just turn it and shut it off. Or same thing under the sink. And sometimes most of the time they should work, but it's something.
Another thing is, like when the contractors would come into the building. They wanted to do a shutdown on the toilets, right? So my boss would tell them, okay, what you're gonna do is, as soon as the water goes off, add a ball valve to that toilet. And then what they would do is they would add a ball valve that's feeding into the line right before the valve, right after the valve, the external valve on the inside. And then this way, once they put the ball valve in, they close it, we can reinstate the service. And so we would ask those tenants to give us their apartment number in the event of an emergency. We had to open that tile up and reach into that valve. If the toilet was overflowing badly and the valve wasn't holding, we can control it.
Anything, when we talk about emergencies, anything that you can think of that, or anything that happened that you can recall that came from people flushing stuff down the,
Oh,
or
Yep,
Okay.
kids.
Okay, what happens?
They flush their toys. Aerosol cans come with those caps. They can get
Oh, okay.
dropped down the
Soaps.
things, soap, Q-tips, and other goodies. Yeah, but that's part of the course. Look, emergencies. Very rarely they happen between 8 and 4 or 9 and 5
In the morning.
in the mornings. Usually it'll be in the afternoon, early evening, mid-evening, early morning, weekends. The supers. Your job is a 24-hour on-call job. You'll probably say, yeah, I don't get paid. At 8 o'clock at night, I got to go in and do a quick repair. I don't get paid for that. That's true, you don't, but you do. They're going to tell you that's why you get the free apartment.
that's right.
And whether that's fair or not fair, you got to take that into consideration, that your free apartment plus free electricity and free gas and whatever else, that's got to be at least another $30,000 to $50,000 a year. So you got to take that into consideration.
Would you say the same for part-time supers?
Yep. Well,
That live
part-time
outside?
supers, no, they don't get a free apartment in most cases. So then, therefore, they should be paid addition for the emergency.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But in your case, because you've done a lot of part-time buildings in the past, were you compensated for after?
A lot of the times, yeah. Whenever I asked for it, I got it. And other times I would say, this is on me. I'll take it.
Right.
Don't worry about it. The other thing is too, you do get paid overtime. You just got to, if you put it in for overtime, there's a good chance you'll get paid the overtime. So, you do get compensated in one way or another.
But the key is you got to pick up your phone and answer it,
Yeah.
no matter what.
No
if
matter
you're-
what.
So even if you're a part-time super, the first line of responsibility is answering your phone, not ignoring it, and letting them know. But in all fairness, there working with a lot of part-time supers, it gets annoying, truthfully, because as you said, Peter, one person's emergency may not be another person's emergency. When you have a huge building leak going down 7 floors,
That's
the
an
entire
emergency.
the entire building is actually suffering for different reasons, but they're being impacted. What would you say is a classic tenants? It's the tenant or shareholder or resident's emergency, but not a building emergency.
I would think maybe when they drop something down the elevator shaft.
Oh, if it's their keys,
Oh.
it could be an emergency for them.
I had one lady who dropped, I think it was a $10 bill.
Huh.
She lived on the 12th floor. The $10 bill went right in between, slid right down. It was a $10 bill, and the guys found it, and they brought it to the lobby. But when they were approaching the lobby, the $10 bill turned to 100.
Yeah.
It was $100.
I'll give you a good example.
Can Okay, go ahead.
That's all right. Go on.
No, I just want to say, so she, if I heard it correctly, she dropped a $10 bill,
Yeah,
and
but
so
it grew into 100.
It-
it
by,
grew
the,
to, but
by the time she went from her floor to the lobby, it grew to it
oh,
gained
it gained
$90.
But what happened to that $10, by the
Well,
way?
she got it back,
But
but that's all she gets because that's all she lost.
but what I'm saying is that you had to get it from the shaft elevator.
Yes, that's another
Wait,
thing. You
wait,
gotta
hold
be
on one second.
careful.
Let me just ask this real quick because it's a little, you know, elevators are very expensive machines
Yes,
and they're also very finicky, right? Even though they're reliable, they could be finicky, right? Because
Yeah.
of all of the new mechanicals, the technology that's surrounding elevators. So, which should really be touched by elevator mechanic now or technician.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so she dropped a $10 bill into the elevator shaft, and what
Correct.
did you do?
Well, she informed us of what happened.
Right.
And she said that, she wanted her $10 back and she was very, so we said, okay, we'll have to go downstairs and look for it.
So,
So we go down to the basement level and we put another person inside that elevator where she says she lost the money.
okay,
That person takes it to a certain floor and holds it there.
okay,
Then we go to the lowest floor, the basement level, and we open that passage door. We
okay,
swing it back, we put a 2x4 on the
okay.
ground to keep the door from closing. And we climbed down and it was clean
Okay.
and there was only a $10 bill.
Okay. Got. I'm not questioning the amount of money here, like $10 or $100, but what bothers me in this case is that, and sorry that my emotions are coming out, just because it's kind of an interesting. You lost a $10. I mean, it almost makes sense just to give her $10 out of your pocket, just because I can understand like losing a set of keys, important keys, car keys, something like that. But you in a generally in a building when you call now you can't do that, right? Supers can't stop the elevator and go into the shaft
No,
themselves.
no.
I don't think you can do that. Maybe I can get a correction later
In
on.
a
but-
residential you could, but like
I
I
don't-
also had a situation in a hotel
yeah,
and we had to go into the room
I'm not. Yeah,
and the
maybe,
elevators are still in motion.
yeah. Maybe you can in a commercial in a hotel, but I don't know if in a residential the staff is allowed to go into the. Often what happens is we ask the elevator
Elevator
company
companies.
to come in, and do you know what their rates are
Yep.
to come in? I mean, it's we're talking not even in the hundreds. It could be over 1,000. So to get that money out of the shaft, just especially if it's a $10 bill, it just seems, and also you're jeopardizing the lives of you said there were multiple people handling this emergency by putting 2x4s and bring the elevator up to a certain floor and locking it there. It just seems like it was a little bit and I think that's the reason I was interested in the question of what one person's emergency may not be another person's, and it can go the extreme, the whole range from small to like a little outrageous. I think that one's a little bit outrageous.
Yeah. Even I don't know if you're allowed to go into the elevator pit or not. I haven't kept up with that part of the law, but for 20 years we've always said if somebody drops something down the elevator shaft, it's $125 to retrieve it.
How much?
125 we would charge
Okay.
to retrieve it, and the
That sounds like a very fair price.
and the
That's a
co-
very fair price.
and the co-op would
Yeah.
would get that money, and we would just go down, and the guy who retrieved it got an hour overtime or something like that.
I definitely think there's a time and place to. I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, there should be allowances for staff to go into the shaft or someone to be called to go into the shaft to pick up something that someone dropped for sure. So I just want to, but the $10 was just a little
Well,
like egregious. But
$10
They've
is
dropped
$10.
iPhones, they've dropped diamond rings. to name a few.
So another one that it's an emergency, but not an emergency. Somebody calls and says, "My toilet is clogged." Okay, it's an emergency for you, not really one for me, but it's my job, no problem. Now, if you have a second bathroom,
That's right.
ah,
Use the other.
there is no emergency. Use the second bathroom. When we get to it, we'll get to it the next day.
That's a good point. Or use the gym,
Well, that too. The
the shower at the gym.
the most important thing a super should remember during an emergency is to remain cool, calm, collected. People are looking for someone to lead, and that's you. So you have to show the leadership, but you really can't panic. You really can't. Even though you feel like, oh my God, you keep it to yourself and you just follow through on the action, and that's it. And I've been asked in the past, how can you stand there and be so cool and calm? My answer has always been, it ain't my apartment. But I don't recommend you saying that, but you could say it to yourself, thank God it ain't my place. But I tell you, it helps. But you have to, let's say there's smoke and somebody smells smoke, we confirm the smoke. We call the fire department, and then I send a crew up to investigate that smoke, because most of the time it's burnt food, something like that, something very minor. So by the time the fire department get there, we've already found the issue. But meanwhile, people are coming down to the lobby. So you got to be there. You got to be calm, collected. You got to bring down the elevators, have them ready for the fire department. Tell them exactly which floor it's on, or the suspected floor if you can't confirm it. Have keys ready so they don't have to break doors. And that's it. You're in charge. People are looking at you. If you fail, then you're going to be in trouble from there on.
That's a great point. Have keys ready.
Have keys ready. And I got to tell you, not only have those keys ready, but you better be right behind the chief. Because if you're behind 5 firemen in the hallway, they're going to pop that lock no matter how much you cry, I got the key, I got the key. Nah, that's part of it.
And they do the same thing with the elevators.
Yeah, oh yeah, they'll pop those elevators fast.
Okay, so aside from having a cool, calm disposition, being able to have a cool, calm disposition, and having keys ready, what other tools should supers have on hand to prepare for an emergency?
Are we talking with staff or without staff?
I'd say without staff, because going back to, I guess in the building with staff, you have the staff members who can help you bring the vacuum and all those things, but in part-time buildings, you may not have that luxury.
Well, in part-time buildings, you may or may not have keys to the apartments. And also, your boiler room may or may not be locked. And other points may or may not be locked. So just going to make sure you have all your keys with you. And there's not much else, really. You got to be accessible to the firemen whenever they need something.
One of the emergencies, through handling some of these emergencies, I guess there's a list of items that some supers have given me, where they say they always have on hand now. It's duct tape, plastic, just in case they close something.
Yeah.
Duct
For
tape
an
and plastic.
emergency?
And they bring it to an emergency just in case there's a leak that they can't stop. They throw it up there and they tape the plastic up.
Okay.
Okay, so James,
okay.
I just thought of something too.
Yeah.
You also should have a list, whether have staff or not, a list of those persons that need help to evacuate. So if they're elderly or they're ill or somebody has a broken leg or that kind of thing, you have that list, and now it's on the fifth floor. You look on the fifth floor and you see two people may or may not need help. So you let the fireman know these two people, one is sick, old, and the other one has broken legs,
They're challenged.
or use a wheelchair. This way you have that list, and it would help
that's a good point.
both the resident and
Right,
also who has children. The
Right,
funny thing is that people say, "Oh, you got to save my cats. You got to save my cats." Yeah, okay.
We had a situation where the cooling tower, every time they drained it on the second floor, they'd get a rainfall full of water. And my boss, he asked me, look inside the ceiling and see what it is. So I showed him. I said, listen, you have like a 10-foot run here that's got a 1-inch crack. That pipe has to be replaced. No, nonsense. I can fix that. Not kidding you. He went up there with silicone and duct tape. And when the GM saw that, he started yelling at the highest level. I said, listen, you take that up with the engineer, the chief of engineer, because he's the one who thought about this. He said, what the hell is on that guy's mind?
Yeah, listen, if it's a small 2-foot crack, I've used epoxy, two types of epoxy, mix them together. 20 years later, they're still there. But what's interesting is on a no-hub drain line, the cracks are not at the bottom. The cracks most of the time are at the top,
Yeah, close, yeah.
or an inch or two from the center of the top.
Right, exactly.
Do you know why?
Is it the volume of water?
No, it's the opposite.
Pressure?
At the bottom, there's always water. On the top, there isn't. So the air with the moisture reacts with the pipe and cracks it fast.
So it's the ambient air that surrounds it
Yeah.
that does the damage.
Yep.
So actually, Peter, you were saying epoxy, right? Having that on hand helps you be able
For
to.
a small leak,
Yeah, small leaks.
absolutely.
I don't know
And
if a
epoxy's-
10-foot run that would work. I don't
And-
think
And
so.
epoxy,
I don't, maybe
for,
I'm wrong.
for those who don't know what epoxy is a two-part glue
Seal.
adhesive that you mix together. Once you mix it together, you have a short time to put it on.
You're
and it
thinking
dries.
of the wrong epoxy. That's the glue. There's another one. It's a plumber's epoxy.
Propoxy,
Yeah,
the
that's
silver
one.
color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like a one-piece thing that you.
It turns into like porcelain once you.
Right. It's interesting that you say that because on that list that the supers have given, that's actually on the list as one of the things that people should have on hand. Part-time supers should have on hand to kind of respond to that quickly and versus running to a plumbing store
And
at 3 in the morning.
and today there's something even better, and I'm trying to remember its name. That black stuff that you can paint on, or you can buy it as a tape.
that's the one they showed that seal.
Yeah, your boat's sinking, you slap it on
Oh,
over
gotcha.
the hull of the boat, and no more leak. Can't think of what it's called.
It's not Gorilla Tape. It's
No,
it's
something
really-
sealed.
Oh, right. I think I know what that is. Let me see if I can.
Something sealed.
But what else? What else? Do you,
It's great stuff. I used it on my swimming pool. I've used it on my boat.
Yeah, it is.
let me see what it is. But okay. Yeah, there's a special name for it. Is it Flex Seal?
Flex
Seal.
Seal,
That's the
yeah,
one.
there you go.
Yes.
Okay, so Flex
And it's
Seal.
very, very good.
2 colors,
Yeah.
and it comes in as a.
It's a black one also. They have one.
So would you recommend that part-time supers carry that on them
Yeah.
to just in case
Yes.
they have an emergency?
I would use the tape more than the paste, the brush on. But it depends on the type of leak. Sometimes you can only brush it on, but yeah, brush on.
What do you guys think is the number one item on that list of part-time supers list of
Necessities.
necessities to have on hand for an emergency?
Well, they should have a few copper connections in case they're needed.
Let me take a look.
Yeah, some copper pipes,
Fittings are not on there, but not copper fittings, but they have
Black pipe.
no, they have plugs. Plugs.
Plugs.
plugs, yeah.
Plugs and caps.
Plugs are
The seal, the seal is good for because you have sometimes floods where you have like a heavy rainfall. Sometimes you have heavy rain in New York City, so the basement levels, the drain lines, they build up and water starts to seep through it. Sometimes to the very bore where they're damaged.
Okay. And then what else? What else is on that list? What's number one on that list of necessities that part-time super has? What do you think? This is so obvious. If I say it, you'll be like,
Duct tape.
almost there. Well, the thing we mentioned.
Plastic sheets or tarpaulin.
Yeah, tarpaulin, tarps.
Some 2x4s, some plywood.
Interesting. 2x4s are there. Actually, plywood and wood. Like I sorted pieces of wood just in case. That's on
Is
the
it
list.
plastics,
Yep.
drop cloths?
Well, yeah, plastics, drop cloths. That's tarps.
Buckets.
Buckets. Yes, that's actually on there
Yeah,
too.
the big
Right, just in
ones,
case
like
there's a
the
leak
leaks.
that needs to wait until Monday.
Well, one clever idea, and I was my first day at a building called the Alfred. We had water pouring out of the lobby ceiling. And I said, oh, damn, my first day. And I said, okay, do we have sub pumps? And the guy says, yeah, but I said, disconnect the sub pump, bring it up here, extension cords, hoses, and a 55-gallon bucket. We put the bucket under the water, put the sump pump in the bucket,
That's right.
and we ran the hose to the street,
drain.
and therefore never had to empty the bucket because the sump pump pulled it out. And we used the same principle in apartments when they got water coming out of the ceiling. Put the bucket, the big bucket there to capture as much water, and then just pump it into their bathtub.
I had something similar where in the hotel, the kitchen was above the basement was right below the kitchen, and the drain line to the kitchen, since they used a dishwasher and it was very commercially used, would leak water down to the sub basement. There was a broken line in the drain, and for the longest, this water was just dripping there until I got there. So what I did was I opened a black plastic bag, and I made like a plastic cover beneath the piping. Made a hole, let it go to the bucket with a little hose that went straight to the drain. Problem solved.
Okay.
The other thing when you have that, I've learned the hard way. So we're going to shut the water off. So as soon as you have a leak and it's affecting a certain line, and hopefully you have a doorman, have him call all the apartments on that line, tell them that we're about to shut the water off for an emergency. Because I once did that without informing anybody, and one person was taking a shower, and they were all lathered
Whoa.
up. They couldn't get rid of them. So these are things you don't think about. Your mind,
Yeah.
your mind's on the emergency, but notify people.
Right. And also we'll have another episode on what the procedures are and where things can go wrong. But going back to that list, the number one is a channel lock.
Oh, please.
A channel lock?
A wrench.
Yeah, they should have
What
that.
size?
That shouldn't be.
What size?
I mean, 8-inch, 12-inch. I think your most common size is an 8-inch, right, or 10-inch.
Well,
But
that would be.
But
I
I
think
mean,
all
look,
three of them would be
if you can just grab one thing with you to your part-time building, and you got to run to it because you hear that there's a leak. What are you going to bring with you?
Okay, so first and foremost, in all honesty, I think the one thing a good super should have in an emergency is proper knowledge of his building.
Peter, you were going to say something. Peter, you were going to say something. What should you have?
Yes,
Flashlight
Yes, there we go. A bag,
and your
a grab bag,
and your
Yeah.
tools, a small tool bag.
small two bag.
screwdriver.
Okay.
Phillips, flathead,
Yeah.
tester.
Right. A
Whichever
four-way
you need.
screwdriver,
Yep.
maybe a Leatherman. Oh, I mean, Leatherman kind of.
And if it's a flood, bring boots. That's it. Yeah.
That's a good point, actually.
One time.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
point. Have some boots,
Yeah.
wet boots.
It's all about this. It's all about it.
You know, I'm a serious person, but sometimes I like to play around. So when we had water pouring down the stairwell one time, I went downstairs and I came back up. I didn't have boots, but I put on my life vest. that kind of like people laughed at that smile. It broke down the seriousness of the whole thing. And people have to understand, we need the water to run to find where the leak is. Once we shut the water off, we don't know where it began from. So we shut down the leak until we find where it's not leaking, and then we're in the vicinity.
Of the leak.
But we still have to turn the water back on to find where the leak is.
So you gotta replicate the leak. You gotta replicate the issue.
Yep, and you start cleaning from the top part of so if the leak hit the fourth floor, the third floor, the second floor, you're gonna start cleaning the fourth floor first. So that way you limit the water going down. If you start at the bottom, water's still gonna come down. But it is what it is.
Okay, as we head to the final stretch, I have a quick question for both of you, and I'll ask one at a time. Roberto first, and then Peter. So just quick questions. First thing you can think of. You don't need to explain it, but just want the first thing that pops into your head. So Roberto, what's the worst smell you've ever encountered in a building?
I think I would say it's probably drainage.
Okay, methane.
Yes.
The smell of
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, Peter.
Don't
what-
smoke looking for it.
Gotcha. There's a whole show that's dedicated to methane and the smell of sewage. Number two, Peter, what's the most ridiculous tenant request?
First of all, the most smelliest smell for me was a dead person that's been dead for 4 or 5 days.
Oof,
Okay.
that is.
Now, what
That's
was
pretty bad.
the question?
Your question was, what's the most ridiculous tenant resident request?
I have an emergency. I need somebody to walk my dog because I'm working late.
As the dog owner, I may protest that and say that's reasonable.
That's reasonable.
Reasonable to you.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Roberto, what I think we talked about. What's the one tool you grab during an emergency? The one tool.
In any emergency, the best weapon is knowledge. And I'm going to leave it at that. Because emergencies come in all aspects.
There you go. So you walk up to a bursted pipe and you say, okay, my knowledge is going to fix this.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying to be prepared so you can handle the emergency when it presents itself. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because emergencies happen at any hour, at any
Yeah,
given
no, we
day.
understand. I think knowledge is the prerequisite. You gotta have that before. But we were talking about more like something you can carry in your hand. And,
All right, I would say bring a small tool. You know, like things for maybe for plumbing and electrical, a little combination of everything just to be sure.
The other thing is blueprints. Having blueprints to your building is also
Updated,
important.
right? Sometimes you need
Some
a-
buildings don't even have blueprints.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a fact.
All right, great. Thank you very much. I think this question's, I think what we talked about, we should definitely give a superintendent who's looking to enter this field a good idea what goes on. And I'm sure a lot of supers relate to what we talked about today. So, thank you very much. Whoops. I'm gonna put it back on. Thanks for listening to Good Morning Super. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the show and leave us a quick review. It helps more people discover the stories behind the city's building. And we are at sparksuper.com, so keep following us. Thank you very much. Until next time, keep your building running strong. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you.
James, your music is louder than your voice.
Okay, so, well, it's the same thing I say every time, so I think people can go back to an episode and do it again. But thank you very much, everyone.